Nice outside.
It's beautiful.
Sunshine out. It's great.
It's not raining.
It's not raining.
It's not snow.
And sunsets are like 9 o'clock.
I can't believe it. When I leave work, the sun is still out. So
it makes the day so much easier.
It's a nice thing. So, Jess Popik has been a clarinet instructor here at French Music for a number of years. She does a fabulous job. She's back down to just Mondays, and she's full. So she's high in demand, and she's busy, which is great. She is a runner, for those of you that don't know. She loves to run. She does the Boston Marathon. How many years have you done that for now?
7.
7. I haven't done it even once, or even a part of it. So that's pretty great.
It's right down the road.
It starts in Hopkinton.
Yeah.
I stop at Hopkinton. I stop at the brewery.
It's right where the Star Line is, though.
I know.
You could just cross it and, you get a couple of feet there.
I guess I've got a couple feet in the Boston Marathon there. And she's just generally a cool person to hang out with and talk to, as you'll find out as we, talk a little bit. But I just wanted to find out a little bit about your background. Where are you from? What got you into music?
I grew up in Westminster, Massachusetts, so just about 45 minutes northwest, I think, of here. I was with my parents, my sister, my dad, played clarinet kind of on the side, and I was like, someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to play clarinet just like my dad. I am not a doctor, but I kind of play clarinet. It's okay.
Cool.
I started playing recorder in 1st grade.
Mm-hmm.
Started playing clarinet when my hands were finally big enough to put everything together in 3rd, and been playing ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so originally your dad was who inspired you to want to pick up an instrument and start playing?
Yep.
That's cool.
We always, we went to see the Pops, we went out to Tanglewood, saw the symphony. We went to see the ballet a number of times as well, so we were very fortunate to have that type of culture in our lives growing up. My dad never listened to anything, or doesn't listen to anything other than classical music. So when we were little and we were driving the car and we were going on road trips, we always liked to play Guess the Composer.
Yeah.
That was our thing. Like,
that's cool.
Oh, okay, who's playing this? And we'd all yell out, Mozart and Haydn. And then my dad would be like, no, you gotta listen. You have to listen. And you're like, okay. And then eventually you just start to recognize that
little did you know, it's like advanced ear training from the get-go.
Exactly.
Which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
I had the opposite, and my dad is a Middle Eastern musician, and so I grew up listening to a lot of traditional Andalusian music and Middle Eastern music. But I got made fun of a lot in high school, not for that music, but because we never listened to any classical music or like any classic rock.
Yeah.
So, Aerosmith would come on, or like, anybody, and I couldn't name them. How do you not know who these people are?
I don't know.
But I play the trumpet. It's great. And so after, you grew up and obviously you like clarinet enough to keep going with it. Where did you continue your studies after you left Westminster?
Yeah, I went to UMass Lowell. I went to their music performance program, studied with Dave Martins at my time there.
Cool.
I spent some time taking lessons with him post-grad as well, and kind of just tried to figure it out on my own.
Great. And what did you graduate with specifically? What was your degree in?
It was Bachelor of Music and Music Performance.
Awesome.
Specialization in clarinet.
Cool. And I think we may have crossed paths a little bit when I believe you marched for UMass Lowell marching band?
Yeah, a couple of years.
Cool.
I was only in the marching band for 2 years, my sophomore and junior year.
And I did the UMass Amherst marching band. I was crazy enough to stay in it all 4 years, and we would meet at, I think it was Colley Stadium when it was still there for finals.
Yes. Yeah. It was, I think Bowdish Field had it for a while as well.
Cool.
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think I'm just old enough to remember before the AstroTurf came in. Yeah. It was just grass, and which was nice because every year it was too wet to actually march your show, so you could stand in the dark and play.
Yeah, there was one time I think we did a show and it was at finals, and I had this really long jazz step that I had to take, and I took the step and like almost fell and then came back up, and I was like, yeah, these muscles are great.
Made it.
Made it. Did not move at all. I was like, all right, don't take a step. Nobody like it.
It's awesome. They make for some awesome memories.
Yeah.
So college came and went. Good times there, and then what did you find yourself doing? Where did you find yourself post-college?
Post-college, I was drum major at the Spartan Drum and Bugle Corps up in Nashua, and that was 2008, so just after graduation. And then was playing concerts and picking up some smaller things, teaching a lot. I was able to expand my studio to about 4 days a week. And it was, and in recent history, able to expand my studio even to my own apartment as well, which was really nice.
Great.
To be able to have people come to me rather than having to drive everywhere.
Exactly.
So it made it work.
Yeah, and with me too. I would drive out to houses at first, and then you realize how valuable that time actually is.
Oh yeah.
And the love of teaching is there, but the love of having time is
Mm-hmm.
also there too.
Yep.
Which is great. And then, so I guess, you play the clarinet, you're a musician, you love to teach. What do you do outside of that? I know we mentioned a little bit of running.
Yep, I run. I'm the assistant manager for the Marathon Sports on Boylston Street as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that job, and I juggle the two. So I work a lot, and just spend time with my family, my friends, people close to me. I love to go to the beach, and like listening to the ocean and just kind of grounding myself there.
Oh yeah.
So it's great.
We can't be beat. And next week, my fiance and I, Ronnie, we're going up to York. We have a hotel up there, up by the Noble Lighthouse, and just get away for a couple of days. Ground yourself out there on the coastline.
Yep. I'm going camping in Plymouth in the middle of July, so it's the same type of thing.
Absolutely.
Just get out by the ocean and don't talk to anybody.
No.
Awesome.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Just you and your thoughts.
Yes.
So now, teaching, you obviously are teaching quite often, you have a lot of students. What do you look for in a student? Like, how would you say you start approaching teaching a student? What's your approach?
I like to start with a really good foundation. So a lot of long tone scales depending on where the student is. If they're just beginning, it's just starting fundamental basics, how to produce a sound, where your finger should go, where your embouchure is, where hand position, all of that, and kind of go from there. And I think the biggest thing that I look for in a student is some passion somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it may not be for music, it may not be for clarinet, but if I can connect with them on some level, then it creates a rapport, and it creates a relationship, and we have that connection that maybe I can use that passion that they do have to something else. And if a student decides they're no longer going to continue with the instrument, I wish them the best, and I just hope that I've left them with an appreciation of music and for culture and for the arts.
Absolutely.
And that's really my number one goal.
Yeah, because that's what's going to actually support those of us that are the artists, people that go to listen and support it financially and physically and being present at the shows. That's great. And I find with my own lessons too, as long as the student has a passion in something, you can, like you said, finding a connection with them. It's usually pretty easy going. It's good, you can get them to go along and progress, because not everybody is going to want to become Wynton Marsalis or Tom Ross and anything like that. Yeah. Or in your case, who's the top clarinetist in the BSO right now?
I guess it'd be Tom Martin.
Yeah, Tom Martin.
Will Hudgens. I
didn't want to accidentally say Chris Martin, that he's the other trumpet player.
Yeah.
So, that's really cool. So running, we got to get into that a little bit. So if you want to just, I am obviously not a runner.
That's okay.
I'm wearing an apron and goggles. I fix instruments and play a lot of trumpet. So what are some of your highlights? Like, what got you into running first, and then maybe if you want to give us some highlights along the way.
Yeah, it's kind of a parallel to my music story. My mom, my sister, and I were watching my dad run the 100th Boston Marathon in 1996, and I was standing on Commonwealth Ave in Hartford, which is the second to last turn of the Boston Marathon. Yep. We were seeing all these runners go by, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm going to do that someday. I don't think I actually knew how long a marathon was, but I was like, that's so cool. Yeah. I'm going to do it. And in 2012, I had the opportunity to fundraise for a team and started running the Boston Marathon. And then I kind of just caught the bug. And since that marathon in April of 2012, which was 93 degrees, I've run 16 marathons since.
It's crazy.
Multiple road races and things like that.
Now, for those of us who can't make it, 26 and then some miles for a marathon, do you ever find yourself doing 5Ks, 10Ks, like smaller events and stuff like that?
I just did a 5-miler last week, and I did a 10K yesterday. A lot of my summers are spent shorter races, faster races.
Gotcha.
Just in those months where I'm outside of marathon training, either for a fall marathon or for a spring marathon.
I was going to say, for those of us that aren't, athletic or sports knowledgeable like that, when is the on-season, the off-season? Walk me through, like, when you do X, Y, and Z.
Most races, most marathon, people who run marathons will either do a spring race or a fall race, or possibly both. Okay. Sometimes you can be crazy, and my sister and I both can admit to this, where we run back-to-back marathons, or like within a week or so, or just this spring I ran one right after a month of running Boston, because as most people know, it was kind of a slog fest and pretty terrible. So I was like, yeah, I give myself one chance at redemption.
And like you said, you got the bug, so.
Yeah.
And what is that normal? So you said within a month. So what would be a normal recovery time?
Well, it's normally about a month of recovery time.
Okay.
But you want to think about training for a marathon being about a 4-month block of time.
Gotcha.
So usually from May, like the month of May is usually my recovery from Boston. And then June, July, August are generally spent racing some shorter races, just getting speed up, doing a lot more shorter type workouts. And then I'll do training from August, September, and October and plan for a fall marathon, either the end of October or beginning of November. Then I have a month like completely off where I'm doing very little mileage, just getting my body kind of back to where it was before, because I've just put so much stress over the past 6-8 months. And then December, January, February, March really are spent training for a spring marathon, and generally it's Boston.
So it truly is like a year-round commitment. You're in it every month of the year, and that's great.
It helps me stay focused. It keeps me grounded. I find it works. It's a lot towards just my own mental health and being able to channel my stress and channel my energy into something different.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I find too. I do a lot of performing. I do a lot of practicing, and I like to call myself a chameleon. So sometimes I'll find myself in brass quintet, a big band, an orchestra, a pit, and just that does the same thing for me. So I can kind of understand the parallel there.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, circling it back to music a little bit, what are you currently up to? Like, who are you playing with? What are you preparing for?
Yeah, this summer is busy season. So I'm playing with the Claflin Hill Wind Ensemble through the summer. Rehearsals start next week, I believe, and then we'll have 1 or 2 rehearsals, and then have a general the concert schedule through August, and then it concludes with a concert at in Blackstone at Daniel's Farmstead. It's usually the week after Labor Day, that Sunday. And then I play with a couple of community bands in places across, North Central Mass, Central Mass. And then I also do a parade band. I play with the Northeast Italian Band and the St. Alfio's Band, and we do a lot of the Italian festivals in the North End, and kind of a bunch of different parades for homestead days, and homecomings and July 4th.
Staying active.
Yeah.
I know that well.
It's good.
And if anyone hasn't heard of Claflin Hill, they're a very good, like a wind ensemble type setting, right?
The orchestra through the fall and winter, and then we leave the strings at home and bring everybody out for the wind ensemble in the summer. That's
great. You got to catch them. They're nearby, and the concerts seem extremely friendly. Family friendly, community friendly.
Very.
So that's great. So I kind of have a weird tangent. I thought of this question might be kind of nice.
Okay.
If you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
My superpower, I would like. I've had this conversation with a couple of other people, and I think I would want to know what other people were thinking, but not necessarily be able to do anything about it.
Just to know.
Just to know.
Kind of being omnipresent, just like you can.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of times, I know even in my own personal life, family life, student life, like, are you here? Are you paying attention? Are you doing this? I would like to know what other people were thinking.
And it's so many times it's left to just assumption, and oftentimes we're wrong.
Yes.
So it'd be nice to just be dead on, bullseye right away.
Or, hey, are you going to put that right directional on when you're going to take that turn? No? Okay.
And all of a sudden they're just, how does she know?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Maybe I'll slow down a little bit.
Now, how would it appear? Would it be like text bubbles that came up and then a little thought cloud?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, like cartoons.
And you know when they're about to think because the little 3 dots come up. They're writing, not thinking.
Or when you're watching like Harry Potter, oh my god, if we're like Harry Potter.
A few flipendos here and there.
Yeah.
Swish and flick.
But you'd be able to see it in the profile. It would be awesome.
Oh my gosh. That does sound awesome. That's really cool. Another thing too that I think might be nice to kind of ask is something outside, something that makes you uniquely you, outside of music, outside of running, something that people might not know about, but makes you kind of, like I was saying when we first came over, awesome.
I don't know. I generally don't think about myself very often.
Well, with the thought bubbles, now you don't have to.
Now I don't have to. That's great. I feel like my life is just, it's a lot of puzzle pieces. And I think that just trying to figure out how those puzzle pieces fit together just helps me kind of understand not only the world around me, but the people that I work with and the students that I work with on a daily basis. And just being able to be really in tune with that is super important to me. And I'm not sure it's something that a lot of people have, but I know that's something that my colleagues possess, and the people that I decide to keep in my life too, which I think is really, really important.
That's great. For me, a weird one, not many people know, because it's just like, oh, Adam's a repair tech, Adam's a trumpet player. Is there anything left? I do like to cook. I like to buy food, and I cook like 4 or 5 nights a week.
I'm going to your house.
You should. It's a great time. Ronnie and I, we make it a point to cook.
That's awesome.
Us and the 2 cats just hanging out and making dinner.
I like baking. I haven't
see
been able to, my life, I mean, it gets so crazy, you know, but baking is a good headspace to it too.
I understand. For me, I always have said if I became a cook or if I baked anything at my house, I'd probably be 643 pounds. Because I'd eat it all. Exactly.
643.
You got to know how many cookies you're going to be eating.
Okay. It's a lot of cookies.
It's about the same amount as returns we had in the other room over there. That many cookies.
We're just going to have giant Adam sitting on top of all of the cellos.
You know where to find me. I'm in the bay window over there. Come say hi sometime. So I guess before we go, unless you have anything we think of, is just a piece of advice for anybody watching. Like, it could be musical advice, it could be running advice, or it could just be life advice.
I think it's kind of going to be a little bit of both.
Sure.
I think you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And wherever you're getting to, you will get there. Whether you're trying to play your B-flat concert scale and you can't quite get up over the break yet, or you know, you're looking to run your first mile, your first 5K, you're just getting through the tough times, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. If you keep showing up and doing what you're doing, you will get there. You'll figure it out.
That's a great piece of advice, and I think a lot of people, you know, we look too far ahead. We're always wondering, what's going to come next? What am I going to do next? How, why, who, when? But yeah, if you just keep believing that it's going to work and you work towards it, keep moving forward, it will work. I do believe in that too.
A lot of us also get very stuck in where we are too. We're focused so much in the now and so much in the present where you can't see outside of anything else. So I think if you just go, okay, just take a step. All I have to do is take a step.
It's true. I'll plug in here a podcast I actually got hooked on a little while ago. It's called the Pivot Podcast. And the opening slogan is, if change is the only constant, then let's get better at it. And just, if you keep moving forward and you don't get stuck, you don't look back too often, I think you're pretty set up for success.
Exactly.
No matter what that success may be, or whether you even know it when it comes and hits you in the face.
Yep. It may not be the path you think you're going to choose, but you're there and you know, you'll be happy at the end of the day.
That's great. I think that's a great piece of advice to, you know, to chew on as you move forward.
Yeah.
So coming up for next week, I'm going to keep digging through some cellos. I'm going to try and find Tony. Hopefully he'll be back next week.
Hope so. We've kind of missed him.
I know.
He's kind of quiet around here.
He's got the coolest noises and the tastiest flute licks. So once I find him in the returns, hopefully he'll be back. I don't know who's going to be on next, but it's going to be awesome. So high five. Thank you for being on Tuesdays with Tony.
Absolutely.
With not Tony Pinella, but Tony Major this week. We'll see you all later. Take care, guys.